Woohoo, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Living Heaven on Earth. We've got the self-realization, self-actualization, our authentic sovereign expression, part 7. And I invited my new friend and previous guest, Peter Hansen, back to the show. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here again. There's so much changing, and as well with you, you're moving, and it's just a perfect example of what's going on in the world and all of our lives.
Yes, definitely a lot of change. I was just thinking about that before coming on, that here we are, just a couple of days away from the solstice, the Cancer new moon solstice, and also the eclipse. So we've got the solar eclipse that's happening in Cancer, and the eclipses are always about endings and beginnings. And we're like in that sandwich right now, right in between, because 2 weeks ago we had an eclipse, and then in 2 weeks from now we have another one. And so everything is just like really amped up and really intense, right? And we're in the sandwich of all of that. And I read somewhere that this time period right now is back in 2017, the eclipses that were happening, I think it was in August at that time. Do you remember that time in August of 2017?
It was the Lionsgate. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, and that was that eclipse, and it was like really super intense. And I remember that time, because I think the eclipse, that's what it was visible here in the United States. We were able to see it, so we were able to see the eclipse, and so it was a really big deal for us, because right now this eclipse is, I think, in Africa, where you can see it, and other places too, but so it was a really big deal. And so one of my intentions at that time, I remember exactly what intention I set during that time. And this is why I want to talk about it right now, to invite our listeners today to set their intention for this new beginning, this brand new reset that we're about to experience, this new brand new level being of consciousness that we're all ready to receive now, these huge downloads that are going to be coming in. But back then, I remember the intent that I had set was to experience the totality of my being. To experience the totality of my being. I mean, and that's a pretty big deal.
It is. That's vast. It's so expansive. It's beyond the human comprehension, and that's the whole, I think, point of it too. That we have to let go. We have to surrender and allow ourselves to vibrationally be in a receptive mode, to, without any conditions, just allowing ourselves to receive and remember again, fully being in the flow, and allowing ourselves to be an instrument of the divine by putting ourselves, being at service, being a part of the new world being created by being, it. And it's really important that, we shift our mindset from that, linear separation, lack consciousness, and coming into this wholeness of oneness. We are one, when we come and think like that, and do everything from, unconditional love, and want the world to be a better place, and always, with our ethics and our actions, choose what's best for the whole, not what's best for the single soul experience for that moment, self-serving, but really coming into this heart expanded, unconditional love, very feminine, expanded heart energy. It is so rewarding. It's so, it's timed that way too, that this is how we all connect, and we've been waiting for this. So it's really important to honor that, and let all the old belief systems go, and just jump in with both feet. It's really an incredible time to be alive, and many of us feel the depths of that. Like how vast and expansive that is. Like how purposeful it is.
It is how purposeful. That really is a good word to, to find meaning in. To find meaning in that purposeful, like what is purposeful to you? What's meaningful to you? And like I always want to encourage others to move into their self-realization, move into their awakening to remember who they are, and acknowledge that for themselves, acknowledge that for the awareness that you're having about your intuitive guidance and what is coming up for you and what it is that you're realizing, right? Acknowledge those things, because when you give yourself that level of acknowledgement, when you give yourself that aha, that realization, you are moving into oneness, right? You're moving into oneness, and you're moving into a state of beingness that wants to be realized.
It's so
So
interesting because that oneness, coming into it, it's an internal journey. It's a decision we make individually. We have to do the work ourselves to connect with the whole. We don't have to wait for anyone else. We cannot. That's the old way. That's the human way of waiting for something to be a certain way before we can take the next step or we can jump in. Like no, we have to within make this union and then just expand out from that space. And it's really powerful and beautiful, and it is that soul expansion we've been waiting for, or chose to be a part of.
yeah. So, in putting this show together, in like putting the paragraph and writing what I want to talk about, one of the things I know that's upcoming for us is the balance, living in balance, finding the balance within the masculine and feminine energies within us, and then how that's played out in our own individual lives, and then also feeling the support of the masculine and feminine energies in our relationships, and different things like that. And the upcoming, time period when Mars moves into Aries, which is pretty soon. I think it's going to be in about 2 weeks, is when Mars moves into Aries. And I think he's going to be there for about 6 months. And I find that a really interesting time, because Mars reminds me of the physical body, and meaning that we're acting out, we're moving, we're taking our physical body into movement. And as long as we come from that higher expression of the masculine energy, where we're not acting out from the lower expression, but we're acting out from the higher expression in the physical body, is a really key piece. But then there's also, like you, for instance, you're a man, and you chose in this life to be a masculine energy. And so, my curiosity and what I wanted to talk about with you today is, how did you cultivate, feeling good with your masculinity, being who you are? How did you cultivate that energy? And how do you nourish yourself in that? And what can you say to the listeners that are listening today, the men that are listening, that maybe they don't necessarily haven't forgiven themselves yet, or they're still holding themselves in, you know what I mean?
I do, and that's a really good question, and it's individually for all of us how we do it. Of course, there's the first responders, so to speak, the first wavers, who do it and go through it. It might be a longer process, and that makes it easier for the people to come. But the point is that I'm an empath, and many of us are, or become it again, by opening up and releasing any dense energies around us, or protection. So that's a big gateway, to coming into the divine feminine within, and learning to listen, learning to through meditation, through connecting with nature, through soul exploration, soul search, and like you said, like activating your soul template, so to speak. Like there's many tools that could be hypnotherapy, whatever you feel guided to do. That's really the key. If you feel like you have to travel to certain places and there's vibrations, there's frequency, there's memories being activated, languages, then the more you allow that and you go with that flow, allowing yourself to receive, that's really what I'm starting to listening again. And that's what I learned too, is that allowing myself to tap into the feminine, because we are on the other side, we're both, we're divine masculine and divine feminine. So it's really about embodying them both within. So you start to challenge everything in your life. What do I do for a living? Do I just earn a paycheck, or do I do what really feels right, for me, or make the right choice? Same with the relationships. Is this serving my journey? Is this serving the whole? Am I expanding, or am I just sitting safe? Like, you really have to, by being a part of the change, you change the future. You change the the way relationships and jobs and everything works by challenging and expanding from that place, because it's really important that we don't just settle, because then we're not moving. We just settle energy, like that's the key, that continue to move again and again, expand yourself and continue to look for what is the next lesson, in a sense, because we did set it up for us, our soul's journey, that, every time there's some kind of chaos or obstacle or resistance, is an opportunity for breakthrough. There's something that needed to be brought up to our attention. That's something that's holding ourselves back. So learning to be in that mode where you don't know what's going to happen next, and you allowing yourself to expand and experience and feel more than anything else. Feel everything. That's really the key to the divine feminine, in my opinion. The way I experienced it is that it's the feeling and the listening and the translation of that and transformation within that whole medium.
Yeah, that's so key. That's my belief too. My motto has always been feel to heal, and to really allow yourself to dive deep into the grief. I mean, really, at any stage, whether you know whatever is up for you, doesn't matter. And sometimes things are up for you that you can't even identify, because you might be feeling really really sad, or you might be feeling grief from another time period that's coming up for healing. It might have even happened in your dream state. So that really is, for me, in my opinion, the greatest healing modality is feeling, because we as a society had not given ourselves permission to feel, because we've always been so much in our masculine energy, and that is do, go go go, do, produce, go. And now I feel like this time period is really going to bring the masculine energy, when we have, because there's going to be a retrograde period upcoming, where I think we're going to be in retrograde for like 2 months with Mars in Aries. And Mars likes to be in Aries, it's its home sign. So, and we're going to have that retrograde time. So, we can really take a look at the distorted masculine that was still really going on the old system of produce, do, all of these kinds of things, to bring it back into balance now, of the original blueprint, of the original footprint, of the original way of being, not based on the matrix, not based on the conditioning. So this is, like you said earlier, this is a really exciting time to be. And you also said the key word is surrender.
Absolutely. Like, you if you fall into the old patterns, the fixed realities, then you are locked into the matrix, like you just mentioned again. Like, you have to push through that and start watching and changing your perception and look from the outside in. So you actually operating outside of the matrix, and you're still becoming a bridge and guiding others out. But at the same time, every time you are in this higher perspective, it means that you're out of it, you're not in it anymore. So it empowers you constantly, and you're looking for other places where there's all patterns that need to be released or changed or transitioned. and continuously just move and becoming this tool, in a sense, like you are becoming the transformation by allowing yourself to be at service, and not judging, not trying to get caught up in who's right and wrong and all that stuff. Because again, that's another obstacle, another um, duality, separation, consciousness. Part of that all that we're trying to let go of. But it's with work, and the way you mentioned it about, we all do these jobs for a paycheck, and people can't fake that any longer because as you see, like not just the coronavirus and what's going on in society, but people are being activated within and can start feeling that this is not right. There's more to life. There's more purpose. It's not just born, work, die, sleep. There's so much more to our journey, and but we have to be at a certain vibration to receive and to understand that. And as a collective now, we're coming into that. So even people who never considered themselves spiritual, or on a path, or very left brain, masculine linear, they also are being challenged because their higher self is pushing up, anything that doesn't serve any longer, and they cannot lie to themselves any longer. And if they do, then something will happen, either physically or medically, or something will shift and force them to make a change. And that is the surrender part. Like, the more we go with that flow, we're allowing things to just unfold and know it's all divine timing. That's really what it's all about, because there's not all that, up and down, and then all that heavy push and pull, energies. It's much more smooth, and it's much more easier. And that's what people start to learn now. Uh, that is so much easier just to allow to surrender and go with the flow.
Yeah, we don't have to the thought, we don't have to have the thought because we can't make anything happen. We don't have to have the thought that we have to push to make something happen. We just set the intent of what it is that we're wanting to create, and then let go and not be attached to how it shows up or when it shows up, right? That's, I think, the more that we live from that state of fluidity, that place of, I mean, when you think about it, how does the divine feminine, how does she create? She sits on that lotus flower, and she creates from there. She
That's a good
creates.
question. I actually have for you. What do you do on a daily basis? You being a female, you being in the position you are, and your soul's journey to where you're at today. What do you do on a daily basis to tune and realign, and keep your vibration high?
Well, what I do is I've been doing this for years and years and years, and I usually write. I'm a writer, and
Mm.
so you will see me channeling, uh, writing, channeling the high consciousness of uh, energy, and I'll put it down on a WordPress doc, and then I take that information, and I put it into my membership, and then I put a recording behind it. I use my voice and speak it, and basically that is the vibration. So, and then this is that's part of my practice. Would was part of my morning practice. Every morning I would get up and I would communicate with source, with the higher dimensions, with higher, the highest energy, 0 point energy, from that place. And so that's really what I do. And um, it's a beautiful way for me to express what comes through me. It's a beautiful way for me to connect this way. And so that's what I do. And then throughout the day,
Hmm.
what I do is, if I find myself in consciousness that I am slipping, or that I feel a victim in me, or I feel a judgment, I have boundaries I've given myself. So, boundaries, like, one of my boundaries that I have is that I absolutely refuse to judge myself. I absolutely refuse to do it. So, like, if I look in the mirror and I go, if I think, my gosh, whatever the judgment would be. I just refuse to judge my body. I refuse to judge myself. So what that has helped me do, by me doing that, it's it's like the boundary is so clear that it's like it's set. It's set. It's like the boundary has been, the line has been drawn in the sand. And by me refusing to judge myself, then also sets the boundary for me to even refuse to judge others. It's just I refuse it. I just refuse it because I know when the judgment comes, it always comes from a lower place. It always comes from the ego. And it's
Mhm.
not true. It's not true. So by refusing, because I want love and I want the truth and I want compassion and I want sweetness. And I know that the only way that I can really establish this within my foundation and within myself is if I'm being it myself, is if I have it going on with myself. And then once I have that going on good with myself, then I can let that ripple out to other places. And what I noticed that, like, when you extend that level of kindness to other people, like, some people, they don't even know how to receive it. They don't they don't even know how to receive it. They think they don't know how to take it. I've noticed that, you know. So but that's basically my practice, is that I have a self check. I check myself, I course correct, and I remind myself, the boundary is that I don't judge myself. When I If I need to allow myself to process victim energy a little bit longer than, in the being in the present moment, where I need to feel something for a longer period of time, then I will do that, and I allow myself to be in that victim energy, because sometimes I find that if I allow myself to, um, woe is me, that's a also part of that healing, part of that process. And then I claim my power again. I claim my power again, and I bring myself back in, because I always want to stay in my truth. I always want to stay in my truth. And so it's nice to be um, in management with your energy.
I love that. That's something I could relate to too, like that when you sit in it, not just avoiding it, not just trying to get an easy fix, but actually which is a part of the surrendering process, is that you don't really know because you're not using the same tools you used before because they don't work where we're at now. So it's really important that we just allow ourselves to be navigated through it by feeling our way through it, allowing us to feel the pain, but knowing there's a purpose for it. This is a part of the transformation, and the transmutation of it. Like we really, dive into the black hole, so to speak, and we're not used to that. So it's at first, so it's really, it can feel very uncomfortable at first because everything you believed in before is being challenged, all those old systems. But that is also at the same time, that's your key and the release, that you're not following those same tools. That does not work, because when you're coming from the higher self and the higher soul, it
Yeah.
is backwards. It's not, it's bendable, it's flexible, it's limitless. So we have to look at it that way. We have to approach it that way, and just dive in and just trust that everything's gonna be okay, you know?
Yeah. And I really suspect, these next 6 months, like even like right now, I feel like there's so much more newness that we're learning, because we're getting ready to go through this whole new shift again, this whole new way, another newer way, a total shift in consciousness again. And so I feel like, again, I'm a student, I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. The thing that I do know how to do, I do know how to do this, I do know how to go into it. I know how
Yes.
to go into the cave. I know how to be with nothing, to sit in the void. I know how to do that. So that's pretty much about it. And in a way, it feels freeing to be in that space, because it's like, you continue. It's just like if you're doing yoga, you always begin again, you know?
Well, the beauty too is when you discontinue all patterns, then there's a way out because it doesn't keep you up in the same loop. It doesn't catch you like the Matrix, so that's the hidden doorway, you're allowing yourself to jump out and then just continue to expand from that place. But
Yeah.
it's like you said, like there's so much happening right now. We can already feel it, feel the excitement, the energy, the vibration, the consciousness rising in the collective. I can feel it, I know you can feel it too. And when we reflect on each other, and we learn to really dive in and see that, whatever's out there is actually a reflection of what's going on in here. So when you see others, do the work, reaching out, expanding, doing what's best for the whole, it is a reflection of what's going on within yourself. So it connects us all into this oneness, this law of one. You're mentioning it, we are the teacher, we are the student, we are all, like when we start to really enjoy each other that way, and appreciate each other, and knowing that we all have a purpose. We all chose to be here together. And there's many, many of us right now, and many more coming, who steps up, and put ourselves out there, like I guess we become experts in a sense because we're teaching somebody who haven't been through that yet, but still we continue to learn, we continue to dive in, we continue to be the student.
Yeah, yeah. Peter, I have a friend on Facebook. I've never met her in person. She's a friend that is on my Facebook page, and she was telling me yesterday that she wanted to do a unity meditation with the world. And so I invited her to come onto the show to tell us about it. So we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break. And when we come back from break, I gave her 5 minutes. So she's going to call in and she's going to tell us about her meditation that she wants to initiate for the global meditation, for people to tune in to her meditation. I think it's on Sunday, but she's going to tell us all about it. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to introduce my friend Dee. She's going to call in and she's going to tell us about our meditation that people can join in for the summer solstice. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I am loving this conversation with Peter. I love talking about spirituality and enlightenment and truth and depth and, the whole thing. I love talking about this. So I could talk about this morning, noon, and night. How about you, Peter?
Absolutely. I'm the same way. It becomes your life. This is what you breathe for, so to speak. Like if somebody want to have a conversation like that, yeah, I'm in, like this. And it's expansive because as you reflect and you share with each other, like you go deeper, you are creating a template without that, letting go of the old one.
Yeah. And that's really the other thing that, like, especially right now, I want everybody that's listening to really look at, like, what is it that you're manifesting now? What is it really truly? Because we've let go of so much, let go of so much, let go of so much. By the way, I just want to let the listeners know I'm still waiting for the young lady to call in and share with us her meditation that she wants us to join. So we'll see if she calls. So, but what it is that you want to manifest, what is it? I mean, these could even be little things, like subtle things, like parking your car in the driveway, or you want new friends to play with, or whatever it is. But like really, like, as you're doing your morning meditation, or you're doing your walk, or you're doing your ritual, your practice, speak it out loud, what it is that you have her on the line. We have Demetria on the line. Okay, so why don't we bring her in, and then we'll carry on. So, hi, Demetria.
Hi, Kornelia.
So one of the things that inspired me to invite you in is because you have a big mission. You want to invite the public. What's great about this show is that this show is going out to 50 plus media outlets. And so now you have a couple of minutes in the spotlight to tell us about this meditation and give us the call to action. Give us the call to action. So tell the audience what you want us to do.
Yes, I'm so excited. Okay, so I have a plan to raise the Schumann resonance with a mass meditation. We did this in April, on with a lot of people on YouTube, and there was like 1 million people involved at the beginning of our, this quarantine stuff, and it raised the human resonance so high, and we know this works. And since then, there's been a lot of new stuff coming up, a lot of new, I want to get on a metaphysical level. I want to get back into, get on how do you say, on the mass consciousness level, the metaphysical level, and try to do this again to dissolve some of the negativity that's going on around our country and the dividing that's going on, and create new chords of unity, and try to reverse some of the, and where some of this stuff is leading us, trying to lead us. And I just want to try to get as many people involved as I can, and see if we can get some help on this.
Good.
I
love that.
I think this weekend is great too, because I don't know if a lot of people are aware about this month. We have 3 lunar eclipses, right? And we also just started the first day of summer, and also there has begun the Mercury retrograde, and we have Father's Day. There's going to be a lot of energy going on this weekend, and I would love to jump on that love energy and take advantage of it, and I think that's going to help us at this time too, to do this meditation.
Excellent. All excellent points you made. Tell us what you want us to do. So what do you want the people to do? Give us the call to action.
Okay, so Sunday, Father's Day, June 12th at 12 p.m., like between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m., when it comes to mind, if you set a date, if you plan it, it could happen for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes in the space you're at. You could be at the stoplight, and, during the stoplight between 12 and 12:30, just keep in mind, focus on our intentions and know that we're doing this all together in a collective consciousness, in a higher realm reality. We want to change things. So Sunday, I think, is the best day, and that's the day we plan for 12 o'clock. What do you think?
12 o'clock Pacific time, or just 12 o'clock?
I'm on the West Coast. I guess, this is the thing about intention. You could do it anytime. If you wanted to start doing it right now, or if you want to do it, the idea is just the intention and the thought, and sending that positive energy out there, and know we're doing it together, So really, if it's 12 o'clock, if it's different on the East Coast or in Seattle, or I'm on the West Coast, I'm not sure the time differences and stuff, but really I believe that, our intention is what matters, and not so much the time. Right?
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. What do you think about that, Peter?
I think that's wonderful too. Yeah, I just want to, remind everybody it's on Sunday, June 21st. It's actually my birthday too, and it's the summer solstice. And we got a solar eclipse. So it's really huge, and that's the energy we were talking about earlier. It's really building up, so it's really about joining in, about the intention, it's about the purpose, the reason why we're doing it, our ethics. Can you hear me?
Wow. Yes. Wow. That is not a coincidence, I would say. Happy birthday.
It's not.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Now, okay, so the intent is set, and we've got everybody's call to action, and that is to join the unity meditation that Demetria has asked us to raise the Schumann resonance on Sunday. And we're all in. We have all the wonderful support by, all the people that are going to be joining us to do this. Thank you so much, Dee, for calling in and for, bringing us this beautiful heart resonant meditation.
You don't know how much that means to me. It's so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for calling in, and be well.
Bye now.
Okay. You too. Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That was wonderful. It's wonderful to, there's so much going on in this thing. Everybody have different modalities, and talents, and all bringing it to the table, it's really important. And that's a bigger part of the picture. We all have certain, expertise that it all becomes a part of the puzzle, a big of the whole,
Yeah. So what are you up to right now? You're in California because you just got there. You just took a flight from Texas out to California and you're with your daughter.
Right. I have a place here still. And my daughter, it was her birthday yesterday, actually. She's June 18th. And I am the 21st. So we're close together. So we're going to celebrate them together. And so that's really exciting, and then more, every time I come here, the energy is very different, than, Texas. So it's adjusting, it's calibrating. I do notice that this is the first time I'm back, after the corona started, and it is very different, actually. It's not as harsh. It's not as, masculine as it used to be, where everybody is so caught up in produce. So I'm feeling the change here too, I'm seeing it in social media, connecting with other souls, but it's really encouraging to see that, the shift is happening, across the line, everywhere.
Yeah. So you just said that you feel that California's vibration has changed because of the coronavirus. It's not as intense with the masculine doing that whole thing, that it's balanced out a little bit. Because I've never really, just now I got the flash, part of what I feel like the corona has done for a lot of us is to be able to really balance and go in. And so even the people, that weren't conscious of it before, but now we're called to go in and be with themselves and be at home and, just chill.
That's something the human mind can't comprehend. Again, the linear thinking that, this is a disease, that's the only reason why. But in the bigger picture, like we talked about earlier, is that, this is a reflection of what's going on within. So when there's a big shift happening on the outside, it means there's an internal shift happening in vibration and frequency. And you're retuning yourself, you're transforming yourself into and aligning with a higher frequency, a new frequency, because the old one didn't support our growth, our journey any longer. So we were forced, in a sense, to make it. We also talked about earlier, like if we continue to use the old tools, at some point it won't work any longer, and it will force us to make a change. It will, get us to our knees, or whatever way, shape the universe decide is necessary to make that change will happen. And it could be a universal 4x4, in a coronavirus kind of way, like it forces us to stop up and take a look at our lives and the humanity as a whole, how messed up it was, in so many ways.
Yeah.
And giving our opportunity to change it.
Yeah. There's this small group of women that I facilitate bi-weekly on Wednesdays. And I was talking to them that in January of this year, in my belief system, that the real new beginning of the new year always begins in March at the March equinox. That's how I believe that March 21st is the beginning of the new year. So I remember in January of this year, as an empath and as a way shower and as a path paver and as a guide, in January, I was waking up in the middle of the night with severe panic and severe fear. And I was really surprised by that, because I know how to process fear, because if I feel fear, I know what to do and how to transcend that fear and, bring myself back into peace. So I was waking up in the middle of the night in January, like I want to say the early part of January, and with severe panic and severe fear. So then when the corona hit in March, I realized what that fear was about. That fear that had me processing all of the death, because I was waking up and just there was so much death around that I didn't realize until sometimes, when you're really deep in the middle of something, you don't know it yet. You don't realize what it is. And I didn't realize what it was, but it was in January, Saturn, Pluto, Capricorn. I was deep in the middle of that transformation, that death, loss that we were facing with the corona beginning in March when that was playing out. And it was really interesting to, because normally when I was processing before or, clearing things, I would be able to, see what it is that I'm clearing or know what it is that I'm clearing. But this time, because it was in the dream state at night, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would just be in severe panic. And then in March, when this all began to unfold, is when I realized that's what the energy that I was processing in January. It was terrible.
So interesting. I mean, this is year one, it's a new beginning, so the old has to be released. Something had to shift and change, and there's so many layers to that within that, like that's important when you start to learn and live from that place like you are, the dark night of the solar awakening process. There's so many layers to that too. There's something we think we cleared a long time ago. It's coming up in a different way, in a different perspective. Like in this case, where it could create that panic, like you, instead of pushing it away and dealing with it the way we did at the time, learning to adapt again, fine tune it again. It's like a fine, sports car that you keep tuning up and change the tires, whatever, but you're adjusting, you're adapting to the situation at hand, and which is part of what we do I know you work with clients too, right? One-on-one. Is that something we teach by experience,
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit? I haven't heard much about how you work one-on-one with clients. You do more than hosting, correct?
Oh, yes. I definitely do. I do empowerment sessions with people, one-on-one. So, and have been doing that for years, have different programs, different ways that people can work with me. So I do that. Yeah.
One-on-one, is it like individual sessions, or is it,
They're individual sessions, and then I have different programs. I have like a 3-month program, or I have a yearly program, or I have a one-on-one, make peace with your past session, or an activation session. It just depends on what the need is of the individual, because everybody's in a different place. And some people, they need a tune-up. Other people, they want to work on forgiveness. So it just depends, it depends who the person is and what it is that they need. But am able to, facilitate that for people, that meeting them where they're at.
And that's a reflection of where you've been and where you're going and what you experienced, throughout your journey, I'm sure, and I love the way you're saying it too, because there's something I can relate to as well, is that every client is different. We can try to make it a program or whatever, but it's never going to work, because individually, the frequency, the soul lesson, the past, everything leading up to, it's all individually different, so it's important to be in an expanded space where you can adjust and you can fine tune and you can listen, because there's so much to learn within that process yourself as the practitioner as well, because you're becoming an entity in itself, in a sense, like you organically evolving as part of the healing with them,
Yeah, like really, like if you were to say to me, like, what's the number one thing that I do with people, that like, by far, like the number one thing, no matter who the person is, and that is that I activate within a person, encourage them in whatever way, in whatever way that it happens, to move them into the abundance of their spirit. Really, that is the number one thing, the abundance of their spirit. That is the thing. And, and then of course there's the shadow work, and then there's the grieving work, and there's the healing work, and there's the, empowerment work, whatever stage they are. But the helping someone move into the abundance of their spirit, that's my joy. I have another thing I want to ask you before we go. Let me look and see what time we have. Just a few minutes, and this is really important. I was thinking about that this morning on my walk, because I wanted to ask you, like, what is it that really, really moves you? Like, what's the thing? Like, I know what like really moves me. Like, I get really moved when I see, people expressing kindness to each other. Like, I see acts of kindness that really could bring me to tears. Or the other thing that moves me is when I see someone take responsibility and they apologize for something, that moves me. I just get chills and stuff, because it's like, yay, the person, it's like, oh, good. So what moves you?
It's similar in a sense, because it's that synchronization, when you see that, all above and below all comes together, that, by you being an expression of self, and you doing what you feel is right at all the time. And then you start seeing that in the outside world where it wasn't available before. And you see people doing it from the bottom of their heart, like making the right decision, that's serving the whole, meaning they are becoming a reflection of God, or being a channel of God, reflecting through them, that really moves me. Like, it feels like, it just makes you proud, but it's also like, that it gives you also hope in a sense, not that it's outside of yourself, but it's like, it just shows you that it works, because you're not alone. It's working when you continue to become and be, a reflection or embodiment of the divine. Then everything on the outside will start to reflect that. And I really love seeing that when people like genuinely just care and show up in ways that we were not used to, like really like heart-centered, unconditional love and no attachment, it's really, that's, the 0 point energy, because it's all connected, so it's like when you really get into that zone, that's really like, that's the premise, that's the most important part of it, I think, for me, is that when you really feel that full synchronization where you are fully in tune, the perfect calibration, and you just like, like, it's so heart expanding. It just feels so amazing, and it's like when you're channeling the angels, the similar energy, it just feels so perfect. There's nothing wrong. It's already perfect.
Yes. So, Peter, are you taking new clients right now? How can people get in contact with you?
I do. I have a lot of mentorship clients going on right now. I can probably fit one more or maybe two more, but otherwise I do clients, individually as well. I see there's an uptick, so I might have to, do more phone sessions again. I do phone and in-office sessions, but with the corona, I had to scale down on the in-person sessions, and some of the festivals I was planning to do, I heard today that they might cancel. So, but you can find me on my website, channelingarchangel.com, or through social media, Instagram or YouTube or Facebook. And just contact me through that, and I will get to you as soon as I can. And
channelingarchangels.com. And
yes,
Peter
Archangel.
Archangel, yeah. And then Peter Hansen on Facebook or Instagram, right?
Yes.
And so we have like less than a minute, so I just want to say happy birthday to you.
Oh.
And may you receive all the blessings that you are 1,000-fold and more. And may everything continue to prosper for you, everything that you're working on, that you are, your heart is in, that you are receiving all of that. And happy Father's Day to you, and solstice, and my goodness, happy solstice and many new beginnings. So much to look forward to. Thank you as always for coming on and being here and sharing your timeless wisdom with us. And
Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you.
I really appreciate being here, and this is exciting. There's no coincidence. Like this weekend and this life and this time and space. This is meant to happen. And I'm really honored to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, everybody. And thanks for listening. And thanks to Dee, and get everybody to do that unity meditation on Sunday at 12. Okay. Take care, everybody. See you next time.